What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York here at Aftershock Festival 2022, and we are here with Tyler of Theory. Thank you for being here, man.
Hey, thanks for having us here. Today it's 95 degrees.
Yeah, I know. It's 50 back in New York, so I'm kind of embracing this moment.
Dude, get a little tan, sunburn. You're like me. You're going to be out there for 10 minutes, and you're going to be like just pink.
I listen to too much doom metal to embrace the sun.
That's right.
Yeah.
You need some vitamin D.
Hell yeah, man. But the newest album is Say Nothing. It is an absolutely beautiful album. Oh, did you just consider this picking up where you left off after your previous album, or being that you are kind of like going by Theory in a way, maybe you're like portraying yourself a little bit differently as a band and maybe are taking a new approach to this album?
Yeah, I felt like a continuation to me. We use the same producer, Martin Tereffi. Yeah, it was honestly just where we felt we wanted to be creatively for the last record. But, to be honest, like, we kind of tapped out on it. It was great for me to kind of go to more piano for like 5 years. And this new record, there's a little piano on it, but it's kind of back to riff rock on the new record, which is coming out soon.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we're excited.
Do you ever start off like a new album idea with a preconceived vision in a way? Do you ever go into the studio with an idea of what you want to do, or is there like a lot of improvising involved and a lot of experimentation in the Theory process?
There is, but the songs are already all there. There's very, very little that's done in the way of taking the song and completely changing it. We try that, and it usually completely implodes and sucks, and we end up slowly just going back to what it was in the originally. I like to kind of have everything as much done as possible before we go in. Then it's easier for the whole vision. It's easier to kind of feel where the songs are lyrically and where they fit in. But once we get in there, the four of us are like kind of in the same room, and it's more about just getting that kind of a band feel, not a demo feel where it's like me and MIDI drums or something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of how we approach it.
Do you, have you always needed to hear music before lyrics are ever come into playing, or could there ever be a time where a lyrical idea could influence the music of Theory?
Yeah, it goes both ways. We started by doing a lot of riff. So even on the first record, almost every song was just me or Dave presenting some sort of riff. And then there was no lyrics. And then I'd have to be like, all right, I'll figure it out. And then got to the second record, then I would start coming up with lyrics and melody first, and then we started kind of writing some hits. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, okay, this is how you do it. So our approach has always kind of been more lyrics and melody. And then the music would kind of come afterwards, because that kind of encapsulates the lyrics and melody. So you can really do anything you want.
Yeah.
So that's how we kind of changed a little bit.
Nothing could be more heartbreaking than having like the best lyrics ever, and they're always like one syllable over every arrangement you have, right?
Yeah, and that's the trick. Is you've got four guys. They all want to be, hey, it's me, but then you got to figure out how you're not going to walk on the most important part of the song, which is unfortunately what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Which sounds so narcissistic, but it unfortunately that's
I mean, it's true, so it doesn't
hear
matter
the
what
words.
it sounds like.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I do need to mention this. This year marks 20 years since the world has first heard Theory. And I do want to know, how has the songwriting process evolved since then? And kind of take me back to 2002. Take me back to when I was 8 years old, and what was the sort of a thought process behind that album and how it's changed over the years.
God, we had no idea we were doing the first record. I think there was a lot of raw stuff there. I remember coming up with Invisible Man, and then Nothing Could Come Between Us was something we just wrote and jammed in my dad's basement. But a lot of it just kind of felt like fluky, we'd come up with something and be like, I think that's pretty good. And then once we kind of got into it, it evolved into actually more like a thought process of okay, I want to write a song. And it came from a lot more experience of what doesn't work. I know what to say, what not to say. If I want to write a tongue-in-cheek song, I'll kind of decide if it's something that we should do or not. Sometimes it can get a little burnt on it. So it's changed a lot.
Yeah,
so,
I can imagine.
Yeah.
From 604 Records back in the day, right? That's what it came on?
Dude, 604 Records, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
That's the OG. Yeah, Chad and John Simkin, we were their flagship band.
I've always said that that first record for you guys was almost like your version of Bleach, the way Bleach was for Nirvana in a way. It has that underground innocence and charm.
Yeah, it really did, and it was 10 songs. We went into the studio with 6. So I remember being in the studio and we had 6 songs, and they're like, okay, you need 4 more. And we're like, we just kind of had to keep every day go in the studio with some idea. I would have a bunch of lyrics written on a page, or I'd have recorded some guitar riff on a voice note, and then we would just try to. Yeah, it was tough. We grinded our way to a full-length record, but yeah, I mean that's a compliment, Bleach.
Yeah, definitely. In order to get that inspiration, that songwriting, whether it will be for instrumentally or music, or lyrics, do you need to like put yourself in a specific place in order to cultivate ideas, or does inspiration just strike out of the blue?
Yeah, no, I don't. I can't write when we're touring. I definitely have two kind of sides. It's very dichotomous where I'm in this touring thing, I'm not creative at all. And I think a lot of it has to do with that we're playing these songs every night. So it's just these songs are in my head. So once I go home and decompress, become like a normal person, like grocery shop and like, get your car washed, all of a sudden then I'll have these sparks of something and I don't know what it is, and that turns into a song and I'm like, wow, it just comes out of nowhere. So yeah, I kind of go back and forth.
It's both internal and external, right?
Yeah, I mean, if someone asked me where a song came from, to be honest, like a lot of it comes from the ether. It comes from nothing. Like RX came from nothing. It wasn't like I was going through some sort of drug addiction or something. It just came from me being bored. I wrote a chorus saying how bored I am and I should just medicate myself. And then I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool. And then I had to come up with the rest of the lyrics. So then I had to figure out what the song was about. So it's interesting, like it isn't this big amazing thing. It really just comes from nowhere. I'll just be walking or driving my car and I'll just sing something and I'll be like, oh, that's really cool.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Now you ready for the most difficult question of the whole interview?
Yes.
How do you know when a song is done?
It's pretty apparent. It just, I don't know. You can just tell when it's done. It's very cathartic. So you can tell. You keep working and working, and once the song's done, it's almost like relief. I know that kind of sound lame, but it's when the song's done, it's almost like I feel this relief, like this weight lifted, and I'm like, yeah.
That's
okay.
a beautiful way of putting it. It's like I mean, forgive the inappropriate analogy. This isn't my quote, but Jackson Pollock, the painter, when somebody asked him, "How do you know you're finished with a painting?" he replied, "How do you know when you're done making love?" Like it kind of has that aspect behind it.
I didn't want to say that, but so thanks for saying it.
Yeah, no worries. And I didn't come up with the quote, so we both win in that regard.
There you go.
And
his paintings look kind of like the end of my lovemaking too.
Oh, now I'll never look at that again. Thank you. I'm going to go to the MoMA now and think of this interview.
That's right.
And I have two more questions for you. But when it comes to playing live, is there at all maybe a similar energy that you put into a live performance as you do in your songwriting, or do you consider them two completely separate arts altogether?
Yeah, it's totally different. I mean, we always say, like, studio musicians are not live musicians. They're not the same. Being creative in the studio is really, really difficult. I know some people that are unbelievable musicians, and they'll go, tour with bands, and they're phenomenal live. But you put them in a studio setting in a very like a pressure cooker of creativity, and you're like, go, and they just can't do it. It's so difficult. So it's totally two different things. I would say live is like being on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And being creative in the studio is like more like relaxing at home. The day before the roller coaster. I don't know. It's completely different.
Yeah, I mean, I know people who play Joe Satriani to the album, but they may not be able to write a song, so,
Yeah, well, Joe can do both.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, which is hard to do.
And finally, just before we go, we have this new album, Say Nothing, out now. Is there just anything else with Theory that you would like to promote? This will be uploaded by midnight, so if you have a tour scheduled for, like, the summer of 2023, don't say it here.
Right. We got a new single coming out a couple weeks. And then an album coming out, album number 8 coming out in February.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. So we're actually going to play a new song at the show today live.
Wow.
First time ever.
So witnessing Theory history. I
there
can't
you go.
wait to see it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Tyler. Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you,
Everybody, we are here with Tyler of Theory. Say Nothing. Be sure to check it out. We will see you next time. Aftershock 2022.